Welcome everybody. August 16th, live training here in the collective. As always, I will wait for everybody to migrate over into the training. Give it a few minutes here as we introduce, as we move in. This week's training is called Strategy for Six Figures, How to Grow and Scale Your Business. I'm going to focus specifically on an online entrepreneur, since that's what all of you are, I would assume. As always, I'm going to ask questions and invite you to engage. As you jump in, make sure to comment below. Let me know you're here. Nicole, hi. Christina, hi. How are you? Thanks for being here. Whereas last week's training, how I made 125K in 12 months, was actually ended up being naturally very mindset focused, because that was just what needed to be delivered. This is very, very strategic. So for those of you who are desiring a little bit of strategic insight, strategic coaching, strategic advice, what's up, Adam? Good to see you here, brother. This will be a little bit more probably in your wheelhouse if you're desiring it. And sometimes we don't know that we need strategy. The reason I decided to do this particular training is because on last week's training, when I asked everybody else, except for Nicole and a couple others who just said hello, hey Nicole, most of you said that you were desiring strategy over mindset at that particular time, and so that was what I decided to deliver. This will be a little bit more strategic. So as you're tuning in, comment below, let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know that you can hear me okay, and we will dive right in. And so my intention with this is to actually share with all of you, and I should mention from the very beginning, just like last week, I created quite a bit of notes, and I'm going to create a PDF from the notes of this training, so I'll make that available to everybody again. So stay tuned for that. Don't worry about writing everything down. There's going to be a lot. This might even be more so than last week an opportunity. You might feel like there's a lot to write down here, because I'm going to literally hand you over and share with you the strategy that I use with all of my clients. So could be a bit louder, Regina says. Okay. How's that, Regina? Let me know if that's a little bit better. I'll move the microphone closer. Maybe that will be helpful. Let me know. And once everything is, the volume is good, the video is good, then we will dive in. So right off the bat, I'm going to pop a question here into the comments, just so I can gauge, even though I have a sense of where people are at. I'm gonna see where are you at in your business. Cool. Mark, loud and clear from Calgary. Hello from Boulder. Hello from Southern Utah. Awesome. So, question: where are you at in your business? Are you in the build phase, which is between 0 and 50,000, or are you in the grow phase, which is 50 to 100,000? Or are you in the scale phase, which is 100,000 and up? Beautiful to have you here, Adam, in Slovakia, 2 a.m. I love when people are tuning in late. Marissa, what's going on? Tuning in from Washington, as always. Good to have you here. Good to have you here from Portugal. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being here and staying up late. I know it's 1 a.m. for you, my friend. Happy to see you here. Marla's building the castle currently. Anna Maria's in the build phase. Marla's in the build phase. Nicole Wilcox build phase. Regina build. Adam build. Marissa build. Timothy build. So that was my assumption. You know, most of you are in the early stages, your early stage entrepreneurship, early stages of your business. Nicole's in the build phase. Beautiful. Building phase for Claire. So yeah, there are some of you who are on here. Make sure, if you're on here, I would really suggest for you to comment. You know, if you're here, engage, interact. With your permission, as always, this is free coaching worth hundreds of dollars, and I just do this from service. And so if you're here and you comment, as I mention every time, if you're new to this space, you have an opportunity to receive live group coaching. What's really kind of laser coaching, although I can't engage with you as I would in a coaching program. through a Zoom call and have a live interaction. There could be really powerful insight here. So, as always, comment, interact. Like Nicole said, be ready to receive. A lot can come through here. You could have a strategy. I'm going to hand you over a strategy to build a 6-figure business as an entrepreneur, and give you the insight that you need to move from basically 0 to 50, then 50 to 100, and then, you know, beyond that would be a 6-figure upscale. So I can't cover everything in one training, obviously. Like I said last time, I'm going to do a whole workshop around all of this. You're welcome, Regina. Christina's in the build phase, great. So the comments are a little bit delayed, so I'll just continue to stay tuned. I think with my internet, there's just a little bit of a tiny delay here. So this will provide you, most of you are in the build phase. All of you so far have said you're in the build phase. So it's good because I'm going to focus on that, but I'm going to give you the strategic insight of like, how do you get from 0 to $100,000? Okay, so why am I doing this? Because for me, I invested in, early on as an entrepreneur, I invested a lot in more of the traditional insight into a launch-heavy approach, which means basically you are coached into running launches, into launching programs. The problem, and I give a lot of credit to my mentor, Scott Oldford, for like illuminating this insight, number one. Number two, providing new perspective of how to get out of the hamster wheel of launching programs, because also we could do a whole training here on how to launch successful coaching programs. And yes, you could make a quick $20,000 to $40,000. You can make a quick $20,000. You could do it, you know, have a client who just had a $17,000 launch. You can do that, and that's great. And for cash flow, that's amazing because it gives you the next piece of the strategy. But that's only part and parcel of an entire strategy. I would rather you move forward with a larger sustainable strategy, so you can create $10,000 months, not $15,000 to $18,000 launches and then run dry in your business. Because then you can't make the investment you need to then strategically grow your business, which, by the way, every time you invest in your business into a coach to take your next level, that's a strategic investment. Just like what I'm giving you is a strategic plan, part of your strategy should be also investing back into your business. In fact, that's the primary move inside of your number one piece of the strategy. Invest in support, because before I get into any of this, the last training was mindset heavy. Without strategy, mindset can only get you so far, but without mindset is more important than strategy, because most of you, you know, with the way that I do the coaching is I provide a strategy for everybody first, and then we go into accountability to execute the strategy, and then questions arise. Why do I do it that way? Because having a strategy in place lets you know where you're going in order to bring the vision in and ground it into reality. It's building an actual business, not just launching a product or a program, which can be easy. The hard part is building the business. The easy thing is launching the program. How do you launch successfully over time? How do you do it sequentially in a way that thinks about what you're going to then offer in your third, fourth, and fifth tier, which I'm going to talk about? Even in your third tier, when you're positioning yourself, how do you position yourself with your first tier offering, thinking about your third tier in mind? It's a lot different than just using a shotgun approach and going for it. And having a short-term success, touting that success, and this is what a lot of coaches and entrepreneurs will do. Even coaching coaches are doing this, I have to say. But those short-term successes are not sustainable. It doesn't hold the big vision in mind. And for conscious entrepreneurs, the vision is more important than the short term. The long term is more important for the short term. When it comes to running a business, eventually, if you keep going through that, number one, you're going to get burned out. Number two, you're never going to make your way strategically towards your vision. You're going to be stuck in that wheel, that hamster wheel of launching. So I just want to put that forward. I want to also make it really clear that without accountability and support to shift whatever it takes to shift your mindset, you're never going to execute on the strategy. You know, I've helped enough people to see that it's like the people who get the most results. The strategy, for me, the strategy piece, all the strategic pieces are so easy. The business aspects, these sides are so easy. It's just, I can't do the work for you, but I can support you in shifting your mindset to allow you to expand your container to actually execute the strategy that I give you. But some of you, you'll be given a strategy and who knows, you know, if it will be executed. So these are just considerations before we get started. But with that being said, if you have any questions as we move along through this, please put them in the comments. I'm going to just kind of barrel through this. I'm going to keep my eyes on the comments to the left just to see what's coming up for people, what questions arise. But if you want my overview of how have I done this in the last 3 years, like I said in the last training, moving to very quickly, pretty much in the first year, to 70,000 plus, then to 100,000, then and you know, the business hit six figures at the end of last year. This 125K is just in 12 calendar months, but the business hit six figures at the end of 2019, if not before. But I think for an annual, a full 12 months, and like I guess what we would say, not a fiscal year, but a calendar year. Okay, great. Nicole, this is exactly what I need. I can do step one, but doesn't help me execute stage 2 or 3. Beautiful. You're going to love this training, Nicole. It's made for you. I'm glad that I tuned into it, because this was, to be completely honest, there was a lot to think through. What do I deliver in an hour training that I could, train all day on this type of stuff? It was hard to be concise. And of course, this will seem a very, left-brained in a sense for some people. But that's how I operate. It's why it's a place of, so my intention is just excellence and mastery, to share from a place of excellence and mastery, to make this look and feel and be received from a place of grace and ease for all of you, so that you don't overcomplicate. A lot of you are in a place of thinking, but you're making very little mistakes that are having very big impact, because you're not doing it. You're not working through your business strategically. A lot of you are guessing, and that's the last thing I'll say before I start. The biggest difference I see between the people who succeed and excel and the people who are stuck in not being able to replace their 9-to-5 income, which I'm going to talk about, and never fully make the leap, or never make this entrepreneurship, coaching, whatever it is, thing work for them. The biggest thing that I see that makes the biggest difference is, it seems quite obvious, but there are the people who who struggle, and there are the people who succeed. The people who succeed make it really easy. They work with mentors and coaches who have done it. They say, okay, I need a strategy and I need accountability and to execute it. And to me, that's very simple. It's like, I'll give you a strategy and I'll support you with accountability to execute it. So if you trust in the process, that the process is going to work, what are you going to receive on the other end? You're going to receive results. But the people who I've seen that have really struggled are stuck in the aspect of an ego that thinks, number one, they're not open to receive support. Number two, they're stuck in a money story that doesn't allow them to invest in themselves, usually rooted in a low sense of worthiness. Or number three, they're guessing. They're spending a lot of time guessing, doing the wrong things at the wrong time, instead of receiving support to do the right things at the right time. I'm just in full trust. I'm working with my coach now, who's at a much higher level, and a multiple millionaire, building and growing multiple business $1 million and up. And for me, I still am saying, hey, should I do this? And he's like, no, don't do that. Do it this way. And what do? I listen. I trust, and I execute. But that's not always the way that it always was for me, right? There's a lot of stubbornness. Great. So, Marissa, if you trust in the process, you're going to receive results. Love you as always for capturing these notes. Adam, is having a scalable product at launch like a course part of your strategy? Yeah, Adam, it depends. We'd have to go into specifically what it is. So is having a scalable product at launch like a course part of your strategy? If you could elaborate a little bit, do you mean like having a course, an online course, is that part of the strategy? I'm going to go into it, and if I don't answer your question, Adam, then help refine the question so that I understand fully what it is you're asking. But I think I do get it. Let's see if I answer your question in this training. All right, let's dive in. So, most of you are at the build phase. This is the framework. I'm going to be sharing the full notes with this. I'm not going to do this the whole time, but for now, here's the framework that a lot of you need to. This will seem very obvious at the beginning, but number one, develop a clear process. I'm putting this in the comments just for those of you like me who are visual. Number two, define who you serve specifically. There's a difference between your avatar and your ideal client, right? You might be filled with avatars but not have ideal clients, and be underpricing and overserving to your avatar without refining and defining your ideal client. Number three, create an offerings list into at least 3 tiers, if not more. But start with 3, keep it simple, execute on 3, build scale from there. Number 4, most important thing that all of you can do right now, whether or not you just take this free training and move forward, whether or not you decide to work with me in some capacity, whether or not you are still in the figuring out what you're doing as an entrepreneur. The thing that all of you can do right now when you get off this training, the action you can take is begin delivering free value right now to your avatar with nothing to sell. The mistake a lot of entrepreneurs in the beginning make is they're looking, okay, I want to find out, is this thing really work? How do I sell? What's a good sales strategy? And it's like, you need to be in service before you're in sales. And most of you are trying really hard to figure out how to be in sales before you're in service. And it's a perfectionist, it's like a procrastination that is generated by a perfectionist limitation that is basically your ego trying to tell you, I need to have this perfectly figured out before I start. When what most of you just need to do is start right after this training, begin delivering value, free value right now, with the mindset that you have nothing to sell. Whether this is a Facebook group and that works for you, whether this is an email list, a weekly training, like something like this, you decide what feels in alignment and exciting to you and blend that with what makes the most strategic sense. But quit kicking the can down the road and letting your ego say, I need to really figure this out first. So I just wanted to say that right now so that you can take something out of this and at least be inspired and have a little bit of motivation to start somewhere, even if you don't know where you're going. Even if you don't work with me to receive a strategy that's specific to where you're at, what's true for all of you is that you have inherent gifts and you're ready to serve at some capacity, no matter where you're at. So I just want to speak into that. Clear process, and this is things we do in what I do in a strategy session and what I do with my private clients like Nicole included and others, Marla included. So number one, develop a clear process. Number two, define who you serve. Number three, create an offerings list. This is creating a full business model. And then for everybody, begin delivering free value now. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the process right now. I've done another training that kind of goes into developing a process with pillars. I would suggest watching that. I think I've done another training on defining who you serve, but I'm going to put that inside of the workshop, so I'm not going to go into that because I'm trying to be a little bit concise with time. I'm going to go into creating an offerings list, and then I'm going to lay out for you the strategy to go through the build phase into the grow phase, which is basically 0 to 50K, 50K to 100K. Okay, so I have a lot of notes here to keep us a little bit on track. So for a lot of you, what will be really, really helpful from the very beginning, no matter if you're delivering on a tangible product, whether you're creating a program, a course, whether you do whatever it is, in your mind, this is what happens with a lot of my clients over time. I find out when they come to the beginning, there's a lot of ideas, but there's not a strategic path of basically the biggest challenge point is where do I start and how do I do it? And so I want to really kind of handle that objection right up front. Where you start is taking all the ideas and putting it into an offering list based on, start with 3 tiers. What this might look like, and this is from an actual client, this is from one of my one-on-one clients, is number 1, a portal that they can work with you through, some sort of free thing. For him, it was free guided meditation and low-cost meditation classes. And so, you get to choose. It could be a free online workshop, and maybe you charge $30, 0 to $30 for the workshop, right? And when we're able, after COVID, to do in-person workshops, this is also a great way, right? For me, doing low-cost workshops, which were actually higher-cost workshops, this was a great way, or ceremonies, this was a great way to then onboard people later who were ready and desiring to work with me at a deeper capacity. But allow people to receive the medicine where they're at. So number 1, a portal where people can receive free value from you. You need to be in service now. So they need to be able to understand what it feels like to receive working with you. And then that's not part of your offerings list. This is a 3-tier offerings list. This is based off of a strategic plan for my client to create $96,000 in his first year. This is based off, I'm just giving you the insight here so you understand the context. This is based off of a plan to create $96,000 in year 1, just so you understand where he's at, right? Because we were replacing annual income of $96,000. So the goal was, how do I replace my 9-to-5 income when it's at nearly 6 figures, right? So we were creating, or maybe it was at a little bit under that. We were creating, how do we recreate basically $100,000 in year 1 based on these offerings? So 3 tiers. First tier, one-on-one work. Second, I'm not going to go into the intricacy of what his were, because there's a whole strategy underneath each one of these detailing out but I just want you to understand what it usually looks like for most people. Tier number 1, which is also the first thing you're going to execute, It's a more intimate, higher level offering that's higher priced. And I'm going to go through the whole strategy here, but just you need the offerings list. Number one, one-on-one work. What does it look like for you to work privately with people? Number two, for him, this looks different for everybody. This could be group program. To Adam's question, this could be a course, an online course. It usually isn't, though. It's usually a group program, and it's an extension of exactly what you do in Tier 1, expanded out for scale and quantity of people, but at same quality for number two. Remember, guys, there's a lot to go into this, but when you do a one-on-one offering, no matter what it is you're offering, if you have a one-on-one offering, a group offering, the only difference is the depth of which somebody is subscribing and wants to work with you at. If they want to be in a one-on-one container, they opt in and they pay higher for that than they would in a group program. That's how the business works. That's how strategy works. So number one, first level in Tier 1, one-on-one work. Tier 2, group work. For him, it was deeper journeys for groups and companies, right? He was doing... he was wanting to do as a healer cacao and breathwork sessions, right? That's like a one-on-one work, whether it's virtual or in person. Number two, it's a deeper journey for groups and companies, right? And then Tier 3, and this will be similar for a lot of you, it's like usually this is an in-person mastermind, this is a group retreat, it's a higher ticket item. It could be an online group program, it depends how you position this. Everybody has a unique strategy, and this is why in working with you to create the strategy, it's going to look different every time for everybody. But usually, number one, one-on-one work. Number two, group work. Number three, high-ticket, aka retreats. Something like this. So Claire, this is a really good question. Claire asked, if you guys didn't see in the comments, is this particular client in his growth phase? Where's his starting point? So he's technically in the build. I have a lot of clients who are in the growth. They're further along with their primary source of income. I have some clients who are just starting out and they're building their new business, but I have other clients who are trying to replace their 9-to-5 like him, and they have a high level of 9-to-5 income. How do I replace that and build an online business that can replace that income? And so he's looking to jump right into basically, how do I recreate in 1 year income that is basically at the growth phase. So yes, he was looking, how do I replace 6-figure income? So that was why his strategy is a little bit different, a little bit more unique. Everybody's is going to be a little bit different. But a lot of you, and some of you, this might be also the case. You might really be looking, how do I jump off the hamster wheel? How do I get out of my 9-to-5 and deeply believe that from a strategic sense, I can replace this in a way that will work? So just to answer your question, Claire, that's where he's at. Okay. That's where he's at. I'm just giving you an idea of how to create. Again, this might be a little bit easier once you see the notes in the PDF of this training. I'm just giving you an idea of what will be applicable to all of you in terms of creating an offering list with 3 tiers, tier 1, 2, and 3. Now you're going to see how you work that out. But to answer, this is for a lot of you who maybe you are in that same position. You're looking to quit your 9-to-5 and let go of another source of income, which is keeping you safe. But you're wanting, a lot of you, first of all, let me know if this is the case. Are a lot of you, can you answer below in the comments for the people who are on this training? Because this will help me. Are you in a place where you're wanting to let go of a safety net of income completely so that you can replace it completely with your income from a new online business as an online entrepreneur? Or are you at a 0 point where you have maybe no job and you're building something from nothing, and you're leaning into this as your whole source of income, so you're not kind of weaning off of one and then building into the next? I just want to know, so I have the context of where is everybody at, so how can I support people in the best place? So just comment below, where are you at? Do you have another job that you're looking to replace? And like, what's your unique situation? And it's a good question for you, those of you on the replay, and those of you even watching this later on, to ask yourself where maybe your strategy will be unique depending on where you're entering into it. Where is the strategy being designed with what in mind? I'm going to share specifically for a lot of you. Let's just assume a lot of you want to quit your 9-to-5 and start your new business. First of all, strategically, I tell all my clients, don't just jump off and quit your 9 to 5 all of a sudden. I always give my clients a launchpad strategy over 90 days. Like, all right, here's 90 days. You have 3 to 4 months. I always say you can do it in 3 months. My one-on-one clients work with me in over the course of 5 months. Group clients would work with me over the course of 4 months. My new group coaching program will be a 4-month program. And so more than enough time to execute something like a launchpad strategy if you're in a 9 to 5. So I'm going to give you context of another client that I have who, you know, she's starting a new business, but she already has a primary source of income from her business that we've really built up over time. What she wants to get is $6,000 plus by the end of year one, or a $5,000 average per month. And so what's her launchpad strategy over 90 days, right? Number one, she wants to shift from 100% of her income from her 9 to 5 into 40% of her income from her 9 to 5. And then there's a whole, this will be easy once you see this visually. You know what, actually, maybe what I'll do is, let me just share this into the comments. Great, so I'm just looking to see, Regina, yes, job disappeared in the pandemic, looking to replace income, beautiful. Marissa, 0 Point, just graduated and building my coaching biz, beautiful. Claire, yes, I have the safety net of savings, not a 9 to 5 anymore, amazing. Regina, unemployment while it lasts. Marla, part-time job, but want to be full-time coach ASAP, beautiful. Nicole, trying to start from unemployment, great. So a lot of you, similar thing. I'm going to include in here in the comments again, this will be in the PDF. So there's a little piece of Adam's building something new, already trading, but need a strategy and help executing it. Amazing. Christina, yes, to shift more into virtual service than current job. Great. So there's a lot here, but launchpad strategy over 90 days. Shifting from 100% of your income into 40% of your income over the course of 3 months. In other words, how do you, let's just say that you're trying to generate, let's just say you want to get $10,000 a month. That would mean that you would shift from having $10,000 from your 9 to 5 or whatever it is, your unemployment, your 9 to 5, your savings now, and over by the end of 3 months, you would shift it into 60-40% strategically, so that 4,000 is coming from your 9 to 5 now, and 6,000 comes from your business. Just easy to use $10,000 as a number, so the math is easy here, and you guys can see it. And so how do you do that, right? Let's just say we're using right now as an example, and this was based off a real coaching session, right? So in August, you shift to 60%. In September, the 9 to 5 shifts to 50%. And then in October, it slowly levels out at 40% of income. The new business becomes 60% of your income by October. And now the question is, how do you replace it? How do you do that, right? And Lisa says, my situation would be mainly for the future. We'll hopefully be saved in my brain's hard drive. I hope so, Lisa. Okay, so how do we do this? This is where we really get into the strategy. So number one, develop your process, your pillars, and test it. You know, somebody like Regina, who's done a strategy session, or other private clients. We've gone through Bernadette, Marla, Nicole, a lot of people who are on this live. We've gone through and we've created the pillars, right? And now you're in a place strategically to execute and to test it. And so for a lot of you, you're in month 1 to 3. What you'll usually do is run a first program, launch a first program, not a program, but run a beta of whatever it is you are launching. Why do you do that? To see what works and what doesn't work, to refine who you're serving, just to be really sure, and to refine and test your pricing. So this is a beta approach in maybe months 1 to 3. Number 2, you're going to create your offering, like I said earlier, from a place of excitement and blend it with what makes sense strategically. And I'm going to lay out the strategy for you here. Again, from 0 to 50K very specifically, and then from 50 to 100K. But I want to share real quick, what's one of the biggest mistakes that I see early stage entrepreneurs make? And I still see this, and I share this even with friends, you know, sometimes who I see, and it even surprises me. I see a lot of coaches doing this. I see coaches coaching people to do this. I'm not sure why, because it doesn't make sense strategically. It's not good strategy. So don't make this mistake. This is the biggest mistake most early stage entrepreneurs make. And it comes from a place of scarcity fear. So maybe you're being coached beyond this, but you still do it. Be honest with yourself. Where have you done this in your business, in your life? You get really excited. And then you take all of what you want to sell and you sell your tier 2 offering, maybe like you get really excited out the gate, okay, I'm going to create a program. I have a friend who's doing this right now. He's selling a program as the first time he's come out the gate to sell anything at a lower cost, hoping to get quantity, more people. But what that does strategically is it will undermine your tier 1 higher priced offering, because now you're offering out people to buy into. First of all, you're expecting a higher quantity of people, which is what's the only thing that's going to strategically build your business. So I'm just checking in because Marissa says the broadcast keeps getting interrupted. So I'll hold on really quick before I keep going. Really quick, is anybody else having the same problem? Okay, so it's streaming smoothly for Adam. Maybe it's just your internet, Marissa. Okay, great. So you'll sell your the biggest mistake is selling the second tier offering, aka maybe a course or group program first, hoping to get more people when you don't even have a big audience or a list, number one. Number two, even if you do have a big audience or a list, nobody's bought from you. You don't have testimonials, you don't have value, you don't have impact to show for it, you don't have social selling capacity. And so it's not that you're doing the wrong thing, it's you're doing the right thing at the wrong time. Okay? You're doing the right thing at the wrong time. What happens strategically is then you undermine your pricing of your tier 1 offering, and then you get caught in a product program launch cycle without enough cash flow to invest into your business growth or into coaching to scale up. And so for me, I spent basically 2+ years in mastery of my tier 1 offering, which for me was one-on-one coaching. I stayed in my lane with my mastery of one-on-one coaching, although I wanted to, and I saw a lot of people being very reactive from a place of scarcity, jumping out probably because they weren't filling their one-on-one coaching. They jump into trying to sell group coaching programs, undermining their pricing, not delivering the right amount, the right value to the right people at the right time. It doesn't mean that it's wrong, right? Exactly, Regina. You need testimonials and sales wins. And I'm going to talk about how to then utilize that, not just receiving, but then how to utilize it to build the business. So don't make this mistake. Stick to your tier 1 offering. And I'm going to go into what this now looks like strategically. Because all you need is your tier 1 offering, but you need to use it strategically and all the way through your build phase. And so here's what it looks like. Number one, I want you to think about this, because I want to just insert again here. Generic strategy is not going to help everybody. Like, this alone is not going to build you a $100,000 business, right? Because everybody's going to have unique blocks. Everybody's going to have unique mindset, like patterns and behaviors to overcome. Everybody's going to have different audiences, by the way. Not everybody's audience is the same. Yes, Regina, I'm saying focus on the tier 1 one-on-one first in almost all cases. But I wouldn't say generically that's what's best for everybody. I don't say that, yes, for all my clients. We would have to, but for you, because you and I have done a strategy session, I would even say for you, yes. Yes, I would focus on one-on-one first. Remember, the process that you develop, when you get clear on developing your process and your pillars, since we moved into a lot of that in our strategy session, then is applicable to both your one-on-one work and your group work. So no matter what you create beyond the tiers, it starts shifting and evolving and adapting at tier 3 and beyond. But for tiers 1 and 2, all the way through your build phase 0 to 50K and all the way through your grow phase 50 to 100K, your process won't shift. You're going to be applying the same methodology and process, right? So the answer to your question is likely yes, most likely yes, but not. I can't say that's yes for everybody. There are a lot of people coaching on, here's the generic blueprint that you're going to use to have a successful coaching business. And you have to ask yourself, why does that not work for everybody? Why does that not work for everybody? Because everybody's unique. Everybody has a different audience. Everybody's alignment feels different. Everybody's excited. So you have to take into consideration what will excite somebody blended with, and this is why you work with a coach to be able to get out, see this beyond the way you see it, because you're so close to it. It's easy for me to sit here and create strategies and avatar statements for all of you guys. I told my client Nikki this yesterday on a one-on-one call. I said, it's so easy for me to help you build out this entire strategy for the new program she's launching and to see where it's going to go and to make it successful. But for me, it's even hard for me to create my own avatar statements and my own strategy. And why is that? Because I'm so close to it. I'm looking at it every single day. When you're really inside of your own business, I can't recommend enough working with a coach to help you see it simply to see it in a different way, from a place of neutrality and clarity, to give you a path forward strategically of what to do, and to just say quite simply, here's what I advise you to do because they've done it before and they're not guessing. So stop guessing, get out of your own way, and at the same time, allow somebody to offer perspective which is different than your own, who has experience, right? But also work with somebody who's creating something. At least I was talking with somebody else the other day, and they said, I'm working with somebody, but it's not working really for me because they're creating something that's not similar to what I'm creating in the world, right? They're working with, this person's working with men, and that particular person is not working in that level of work, that consciousness of work. And so, or the same type of work, I'm not sure exactly. So also work with somebody who's, it's why I work with conscious entrepreneurs who are like looking to create impact and create something from the heart, because I know that we will be creating similar types of things, and so my advice is relevant, right? People are working with my coach who are, you know, selling software and products and even in-person brick and mortar businesses, and I wouldn't be a good coach for them because I don't have any experience building and scaling businesses. Nicole, this makes so much sense. I've been pushing group sessions before one-on-one. I now believe this is the lesson could be I'm not taking from the fails. Great. Yes, Regina, one-on-one first. We can talk more about that, about your strategy offline, like specifically. So, I want you to ask these two questions. I'm going to put this into the comments. Two questions yeah, a lot of people think that, Regina. This is the thinking. It seems like the one-on-one clients would come from the group, but also with the Path to Your Discovery call. Great, if that's what you think. And also, a lot of people think that, and it doesn't work. And really interesting thing to consider is, for a lot of you, have you been trying to sell a tier 2 program to people who are willing to pay you tier 1 prices where you could create more results for them? And that's your entire cash flow problem. You've been undercharging, trying to sell a tier 2 offering at a lower price to people who want more results in a more intimate setting, who are willing to even pay you more, and you're doing the disservice to both of you. You're receiving less income and having less cash flow to invest into growing your business and working with a coach, and at the same time you're not even creating the impact you want. And everybody's going to have opinions on this. Another answer to you, Regina, is that, just like I keep reiterating, not everybody's strategy is the same. So I can't sit here and say, everybody do it this way. I've worked with coaches who are telling everybody do it this way. This is the way to do it. Number one, why do I not like that? Because it creates a cookie cutter approach that pretends like there's a blueprint to success that can generically work for everybody. What works in my business isn't going to specifically get you the same results in your business. You don't have the same audience with the same expectations. We might not be coming from the same place. We might not have similar outcomes or results. So we can look at this strategically, but then at the end of the day, everybody's going to have a different answer to that question, even though the question itself seems simple. I just want everybody to focus on tier 1, tier 2. Focus and consistency. Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. All right. Let's get into the meat of this, which is a couple of questions, and I put them here. 2 questions to consider. Number 1, in what model will you thrive? And this might provide insight into your question as well. In what model will you thrive? And I asked this, I think, on the last training. For me, I do much better in live coaching. So I don't speak to a screen. I don't speak to a video. In terms of beyond this training, I'm not selling programs right now because, number 1, I don't have the audience size necessarily for that to be the right thing to do now. Could I do it now? Yes. Could it be excellent? Yes. But number 1, it's not the thing that excites me most. Number 2, it wouldn't be relevant pricing and relevant timing. And so for me, I'm most excited by 2 things. Working one-on-one with people where I can engage with the energy and get you extremely high results. Number 2, group coaching programs, like what I'm about to launch. Working with people so I can engage in energies and help you execute on your strategy after building it. That's the first thing to think about. You have to think about what excites you and what model will you thrive. If you're choosing a model that you won't thrive in, you're not going to create the results that you're promising. Huge problem that early stage entrepreneurs make. They try to think about this, what makes the most business sense. Yes, but I have so many people come to me and have to, I was told by this and this marketing funnel coach to create an evergreen course, and then I have clients in here right now who and they said that it was just this easy. Build the course, you set up the leads, run the Facebook ads. It doesn't work that way for most people for a reason. And yes, if you have like a 5,000 plus list, then that might be a greater impetus and be a more relevant strategic decision for you to make at that time. But if you're just starting out, it makes absolutely no sense. So number 2 is that question: what makes the most sense based on where you're at now? Great. Lindsay does on-camera and group pre-recorded training vids and one-on-one. Beautiful. So what makes most sense based on where you're at now? So a lot of you are in the build phase. And I'm going to go through how do you get from $0 to $50,000? Because this is what will be the moneymaker for most of you. I'm going to lay out the strategy. $0 to $50,000 build phase. What literally every single person who is on this training right now said that they are within. So if you're looking to get to $50,000, here's a particular strategy that is not yet unique to where you're at, so just take this with a grain of salt. This needs to be applied specifically to where you're at. I'm going to use placeholders of taking this from what most people might do and what I did. There you go. Good, great consideration, Lindsay. And so a lot of you haven't even taken yourself into the awareness that you're putting a lot of your energy, time, and focus into something. You're putting 60% of your energy into something that only gives you 40% of your excitement. And this might be a big one for you. You're putting 60% of your energy into something that only gives you 40% excitement. What would happen if you put 40% of your energy into something that gives you 60% excitement? If it lights you up more, your efficiency, but not just your effectiveness and your efficiency, it's actually the effectiveness and the results you're creating skyrocket. Your clients have much bigger wins. You amplify your business very fast. And so a lot of this has to be, you need to create space. This is internal work. This is deep ceremony work. This is internal. This is why I combine spirituality and strategy, and I do so much mindset work with people. Because if you don't have a sense of really kicking into your intuition, sometimes it doesn't even make logical sense. You have to strategically and logically execute on something that has been delivered to you intuitively. Your job as an entrepreneur, if you want to be successful, is to logically and strategically execute on something that has been delivered to you intuitively. But the problem is a lot of you are not creating space or have enough trust in your intuition for the ideas to land and then expand and grow. You're instead coming first from a logical place that is usually crowded by limitation and expectation, including stories of how much you can or can't invest, money stories and fear around what you believe you're ready to do now, having you come forward and then back away. But from a place of full trust, you put your money down, you make the investment, you follow the strategy, you execute, you break through the mindset limitations that are in place, you rewrite the habits and the patterns, and you start receiving success not just for you but for your clients, and your business evolves 30 to 40% every year because of that. It's clockwork. This isn't some magical formula that is reserved for the few. This is possible for everybody. But you have to trust the process. And the really big challenge is that you're not coming into it with a heart full of trust in the beginning. The trust is built once you're in the container. It's easy for me to once you're in the space, all of the parts of you that don't fully trust are going to shift out of the way. But a lot of you are not creating space for the intuition to land. So I just want to bring this mindset and this perspective in right now before we move fully into this strategy. Okay, now, with that in mind, how do you build a $50,000 from just year one? So, if you have a smaller audience and low cash flow right now, a lot of you have lower cash flow, you might have a smaller audience. Where do the people come from? Regina's asking the same question. You should probably be working with people privately, making sure your pricing is equivalent to the value you're delivering. relevant to your audience and your marketplace. A lot of people struggle with this, and can abundantly provide for the lifestyle you desire. So for some of you, I've had people come in and it's like, you could choose to work with somebody at $10,000 a month for 3 months, and that's $30,000 times 3 client. That's 90 grand right there. For others of you, your journey to $90,000 a year is going to look like what I'm about to share. But the first thing you need to look at, don't just assume that people are at where you're at. Cash flow wise, audience wise. Don't just assume, tune in and find out. Like, do you want to work with a lot of people for a little bit amount of money, or a small group of people intimately for a higher bit amount of money? Who is it that you really want to work with? Are you assuming that your ideal client, are you assuming because maybe your avatar doesn't have the money to invest in working with you, that your ideal client doesn't have higher cash flow and higher investment, higher commitment? Could be a similar avatar, but that could be the defining characteristic, and is for many of you, for your ideal client. Yes, Adam, thanks for naming that, brother. That's where your breakthrough lies. Yes, Marissa, how much can you bet on yourself? Well, 2 things. How much can you bet on yourself, and are you working with the right people at the right time? Right? If you're really clear, I mean, you guys are here for a specific reason. If all of you were to work with me, you would be in the right place at the right time. Now, if I was like some of you, what Marissa wants to step into, and Dominique, like in the last training, like if what you feel like you need is a tantric coach right now, I would refer you to the right person. Right? If what you feel like you need is a hypnotherapist, I would refer you to the right person. So it's how much you're betting on yourself, but are you really, really clear that you're putting your investment into the right person in the right place? I have people all the time. By the way, from the last training, I had like more than 10 of you reach out and say, hey, how can I work with you? What are your programs? And I do have a group coaching program that will be coming soon that I'll be sharing more about. And it was interesting because then sometimes the dialogue, and this has happened for years, sometimes the dialogue will be, is this the right program for me? It's like, it starts from a place of trust, and then it derails into like the mind trying to justify, is this the right time and the right place? And I always say, in your body. This is how it's always been for me. I know intuitively. I don't create a conversation out of it. My last coach, Scott, I reached out to him privately. I said, hey, I want to work with you. What does it cost? Where's the payment link? End of story. Full trust doesn't mean that the higher investment doesn't bring on its own level of fear. We're always up leveling with our investments. And it's like, it brings on a whole different, it's a different expansion. You have to expand beyond your edges. Of course it's going to bring up stories and limitations for you to break through. Otherwise it wouldn't be worth it. That's one of the ways you know that it's worth it. So that's the first thing that I'll say, but it's like for me, I don't create a whole story and dialogue about it now because I've eliminated and dissolved so much of that doubt and fear and scarcity. And in choosing and acting from a place of trust, and then I feel into my body, is this the right person at the right time? So yes, I'm betting on myself, but I've also invested into programs, to be completely 100% honest, which were not the right program for me at the right time, right? Building a coaching business, even for me, building a coaching business, if I had a program about building a coaching business, like I did, that wasn't the right fit for me. What I needed was somebody to assist me in scaling the business, right? That's not on the person, that's on me getting really, really clear on where I'm at and what I need. So Anna Maria says, but you have to have the money initially to invest, right? What if you don't? If you don't, you find a way out of nowhere. You put it on a credit card, you ask for money from somebody else, you think creatively and say, how do I create this money in the next 3 to 4 weeks? Very few times, especially in the beginning, was the money in my bank account the right amount of money to invest in the coaching. If you had the money, why would you need the coaching in the first place? Ask yourself that question. It's kind of a paradox and a conundrum, or whichever one of those is the correct language, right? If you had the money, you probably wouldn't need the particular coaching that you're asking for. But the scarcity has you think, okay, when I have this, when I'm this, I'll be really ready for it. If I had the right amount of money to invest in the coaching that I need now, it means we're likely playing it safe. If you think you need to have the right amount of money in your bank account to invest, you're likely playing it safe because you're aligning to something that's very safe and close to where you're at, rather than something that's going to really push and expand your edges. Yes. So create it. From scarcity, you'll say, yes, but I don't have the money. From abundance and trust, with no fear present, you'll say, okay, how am I going to make this work? I have a number of you who reached out and said, can I work with you? And then there was like half the people, well, I shouldn't say half. A few of the people said, yeah, but I don't have that amount of money to invest. And then the other lot of people said, okay, I'm going to make this work. It didn't mean they had any different number in their bank account. They said, I'm going to make this work and I'll find a way to make this work. That level of commitment means the universe has a response, something to respond to. So I'm going to leave that at that for now and go into this strategy so that I can have enough time to share it. So, like I said, if you're in the build phase, 0 to 50K. I'm going to put this here just to put a little note in the training. Build phase, 0 to 50K. Intention, execute and master your tier 1 offering. If you have a smaller audience and low cash flow, most likely what's happening from 0 to 50K, work with people privately, make sure your pricing is equivalent to the value you're delivering, relevant to your audience and marketplace, and abundantly provides. Okay, so if this is the case, take what you're already doing, and Adam mentioned this, I think, take your one-on-one sessions, package this into a 4 to 5 month program for clients. This is basically what a lot of coaching programs are teaching you, how to build a coaching business. I can break this down for you basically in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the whole thing. So you take your one-on-one sessions, you package this into a 4 to 5 month program for clients. For example, if you charge $150 per session for what you do, number one, you're going to want to increase your pricing, move up to $200 a session, times 4 to get a monthly price, that's $800 a month. Add 25% on top for messenger support and holding the container. Now you're at $1,000 a month, and do a 5-month package with somebody, probably with a paid in full discounted price. And now you have 5 months at $1,000 a month for one client. Okay. And $5,000 total, by the way, guaranteed to you, and create the contract. Okay, you've now created $1,000 a month from one person. Your job, that's easy. Your job now is to take that $1,000 per month and attract in 5 to 6 clients. And what we're trying to get you to strategically is $5,000 to $6,000 per month. $5,000 to $6,000 per month times 12 months is $60,000 to $72,000 in year 1, with an execution of sales and marketing strategy. And so a lot of you are going to ask the question now, okay, great. Okay, you're making that sound really easy. How do you get the 5 to 6 clients per month? That's what a lot of you jumping to sales over service. You're leapfrogging service into sales. But I'll answer the question the best that I can, because this sales and marketing strategy is going to be unique for every single person. I'm going to sit with you. What I do is create 2-hour strategy session where a lot of this includes a sales and marketing strategy so that you know how to create those 5 to 6 clients per month or more. But here's a basic breakdown, right? Sales and marketing strategy depends on where you're at, what's aligned with your behavior, what's going to make you thrive, and your audience. A lot of factors. But for most people, number one, you really just need to cultivate a community you already have and convert them into clients through 1, demonstrating consistent value, 2, not being afraid to invite people to work with you. A lot of you struggle with this, will struggle with this. And 3, see how you can support them. So a lot of this is organic outreach. And the next part of this, which is a missing piece for a lot of people who I even see that maybe are successful at attracting clients, but not as successful in building their business. There's a difference, by the way. There's a distinction between being able to attract clients, which is just the first part of it, and then how do you have ongoing long-term clients with consistent, sustainable $10,000 months. A lot of this is partnerships and referrals and creating systems. But that's a whole other thing to dive into. Okay, number 2, some people will thrive running Facebook groups just like this. So I thrive running this group now that I've really chosen this as my thing. And for some of you, it's by creating content like what I'm doing. Others of you might curate content, which is different. You might really enjoy being a curator. I have other clients, by the way, just to answer the question, what if you're not on social media at all? Which obviously isn't true for most of you. But I have some clients who are completely off of social media. They don't want to be active on social media. That's a really interesting question, right? I'm as a coach, can you help me build a 6-figure business if I'm not even on social media? And the answer is yes. They're all the same way. Well, a very different way, but it's actually quite similar in approach and strategy. The execution's a little bit different. I'm not going to go so much into that because that's not relevant to most of you, because most of you are active. You're online and you're active online. So unless I was working with you and you said, hey, I don't want to be doing this online, I wouldn't go into that. But what you need to know is it's all the same in the sense that your process has to be solid, your offer must be easy to say yes to, and you're in the business of over-delivering to a small, intimate number of people, not wasting time looking for a higher quantity. A lot of you are wasting so much time in the beginning thinking that the people who are already in front of you can't be, because of your mindset, can't be converted into clients, not realizing that those are people that you can work with that need your service, that you could be selling to right now. So what it has you doing is looking for your clients when you're ignoring your conversions. This is like one of the very first things that changes the game for a lot of the people that I work with, right? But it's very unconscious. So, number 3, this is not a time to worry about larger audience growth or running Facebook ads. Please do not get caught into like, I need to get 100,000 people on my YouTube channel, or I need to run ads, and it's like some of you will run Facebook ads and spend more money doing that with no return on investment when you could have invested the same into a coaching program that would have tripled your income. People don't know who you are yet. It's like they don't see you as an authority above them delivering on a particular expertise, right? Just like my coach says, you have to create authority. You have to create a level of authority because people aren't seeing you that way yet. Okay, so how do you do that? You know, some of the ways that he talks about, it's like you really need to get onto podcasts, be a guest trainer in programs, right? You know, this is part of what even though I've done this for years, there's still a lot of growth room for me of being on podcasts at this point and like growing my authority in that way, because I haven't really tapped into those audiences who are really frequent listeners in these places. You can deliver so much in a place like a podcast where you get somebody like me. I need a certain amount of time, right? So I'm noticing, okay, I can thrive if I'm in a podcast and really deliver, or a guest training is the best for me. If I'm a guest trainer, this is the best for me because I can really, really deliver in guest trainings. It's just like this, right? Except I'm on a Zoom call. I guest train into people's online groups and programs. It's a place of excellence for me. So this is another great place for me to go. So for you guys, don't worry about growing your audience. Don't worry about Facebook ads, any of this stuff. People need to know who you are. Reach out to the audience and the connections you already have. See if you can be a guest trainer in their program. Get onto podcasts, stuff like this. Build your name and your authority around your process. But a lot of you need to start with just creating and getting solid on your process. Okay, now number 4. Once you've gone through a year of this, and this is usually 3 to 4 rounds of clients. Let's say you have 4 rounds of 3 months, which I don't recommend at all. I would say everybody, like, you know, don't get stuck in 3-month selling cycles. You're going to create less results, right? This is one of the changes I've made in my business, and it's true. Great thing that Scott suggested to me as my mentor and coach, because it's tiny little tweak strategically that makes a huge difference. I will not work with people for less than 4 months now. My group coaching program will be 4 months long. My private coaching is 5 months long. So once you've gone through a year, like at least 3 to 4 rounds of clients, focus heavily on collecting testimonials, creating impact, over-delivering to a small group of people, getting referrals, incentivizing this through referrals, and just, I used to, and I still do, I will just send people cash. I'll just send people money and say, well, hey, why did you send me like $300 or whatever it is, $400, $300? It's always like somebody signed up to do one-on-one coaching with me or whatever it is, group coaching with me, and you referred them. And I've never shared even publicly. Now, for some of you could share it publicly, but I've never needed to share publicly. I just do that because I believe in the law of circulation and abundance. So if somebody refers somebody to a program, that's another thing, like to answer your question from earlier, Anna Maria. This is a great, when you're thinking from abundance, this is what arises, right? I've had people before who said, hey, I can't afford your program right now, but I know that I need to work with you. But I know other people who this program would be perfect for. What if I referred them in? I say, okay, great. Those referrals usually pay for your first month in the program, in my program. So that's even an option. For those of you, hey, I really want to work with you, but I don't know how in the beginning I'm going to have the money. Here you go. From a place of abundance, you're going to start to see opportunities arise. You're going to start to get creative about how you can make what you know needs to happen now. Even if it means you don't have what you need to make it happen now, or you think you don't need, you have it. Your greatest resource is not the amount of money in your bank account. Your greatest resources are the people who are in your network. Your human resources. And this is the biggest thing. A lot of you are thinking, I need this amount of money so I can run Facebook ads, or I need this amount of money. If the program costs $3,000, I need the $3,000 in my bank account, and I actually need 10,000 because I need 3,000 for the program and I need 7,000 for my lifestyle in the next 3 months of bills, blah, 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 whatever it is. That's not how most entrepreneurs, number one, live their lives. And so you need to align with what it's going to actually mean to have a certain level of risk, which is based and predicated upon a deep level of trust that what you're saying yes to is going to work. After you've aligned and are certain with who it is you're going to work with, and then choose and take the leap. Of course you're going to be afraid. Of course the money's not going to be in your bank account. Get creative. Go do freelance work for like 4 people. Go refer 3 people. I've had so many people work with me. I have 2 clients who quadrupled. I posted one in here, Nikki. I have 2 clients who are also in the collective who quadrupled times 4 their annual income from their, well, I should say some of them, it was one business, other it was a combination of different businesses, but they quadrupled their annual revenue. And those same 2 people, it was the hardest for them to start in the beginning. It had nothing to do with the amount of money they had. In fact, I love working with people in the beginning where it's really hard for them to put the money together, and it's a huge stretch because their level of commitment is usually so high. But get creative about, if you're a yes in your body and you keep denying and neglecting it, get creative about how you're going to make it possible. That's acting from abundance and trust, not fear and scarcity. And stop pretending that you have to do it on your own or that you already know. And if you don't, it's easy. Just like follow a strategy that works. The strategy itself can be very simple. But look ahead strategically without trying to do everything at once, one thing at a time. There you go. Adam's got it. Case in point. And a lot of you are missing out on a lot of your referrals. Could be the next 15 to 25% of your business revenue. Lives inside of your referrals. Especially for people, one of my clients, doing in-person, especially for people who are like practitioners in person, word of mouth is going to be everything for you. You don't need to. I have clients who waste all their time trying to do online marketing, and I scrap all of that. I said, how do we create a referral system that really works? And then they she times forward her revenue. And from there, what it means is you have more cash to invest in building an online a presence, taking the next step to build an online presence, and now you're building a second stream of revenue. This is what it looks like to do this strategically, not getting caught up in like a launch cycle, what we call a launch cycle. Okay? So that's a really big overview of the build phase, 0 to 50K. I'm just going to move through the grow phase, just a piece of the grow phase so that you guys can start to taste it. And I want you to if you're feeling like it's hard to conceptualize what it would feel like to move from $50,000 to $100,000 because you're still at 0, or you're still somewhere between 0 and 50 in the building phase, I'd love for you to, for a moment, just take a deep breath, close your eyes, and imagine yourself with $63,000. $63,000. You're already generating $63,000 of revenue into your business through just your first year offering. I just want you to position yourself. What does your life look like? Where are you at? What are you creating? What's exciting you? What does your environment feel like that's supporting your creativity? Just position yourself right now, energetically, as the space to hold $63,000 of revenue, so that you can then take this strategy on as if it's relevant to you right now in this moment. So here we go. You're in the grow phase, 50,000 to 100,000. You've already moved through phase 1, the build phase. You're in stage 2, grow. You should be focusing on taking your process and moving your audience into tier 2, while simultaneously increasing pricing of tier 1. This doesn't always happen after year 1 for somebody, but it does happen in year 1 incrementally. I chose to be in the mastery of tier 1 for 2 full years before I even considered, 2.5 years actually, before I even considered the offering of tier 2, but I was still increasing the pricing of tier 1, the one-on-one coaching. So increase the pricing of your, in this example, increase the pricing of your one-on-one work. Even if it's not coaching, whatever you're doing one-on-one, increase the pricing of your one-on-one work. Build your then offering for a higher quantity of people, aka group coaching, at a lower price for more of your audience to access your work. This is where you 2 to 3 times your impact. This is really important. So for example, if you had 5 private clients, create space for 10 to 15 people in your group. And again, the pricing and the structure and the approach is going to depend on where you're at and your audience is at. Everybody's going to have a different strategy here. This isn't going to be true for all of you. Please don't say, okay, this is exactly what it's look like. No, like you would need to have this uniquely created and look at what actually works for you for a lot of different reasons, and your audience and your avatar and your client. You know, I'll just share, there's one of you in here and there's a few people that I've worked with, and I know it's true for a lot of you. Some of you are looking at this from this, what I'll say is like the trap right now of the online entrepreneur, which means you think that the only thing for you to do is to create this online program or build this one-on-one coaching and then to sell all the people on your friends list. And so you have it mixed up. You're trying to figure out what's a good sales and marketing strategy, but you're working through the wrong channel. You might not need to sell. Like I said, you might not be on Facebook or social media at all. But here's another thing to think about. One of my clients in here, Nicole, we had a conversation, and it's like for her, she's much more powerful on something like LinkedIn than she is on something like Facebook or Instagram. It doesn't mean you're not going to be present on different platforms, but your strategy, you could be spending all of your time in the wrong place, is what I'm trying to say. I've worked with other people, and I am working with other people. Another one of my clients, it was like he was said in, okay, how do I create this for other doing men's work? How do I create this amount of revenue selling this program and creating results for men that are like me? It was men that were like him, but he was looking in the wrong place. And as soon as he shifted at one point into a corporate setting, he immediately brought on a $20,000 corporate client, and then brought on an additional $20,000 of revenue alongside it as a second revenue stream, with, I think, both one-on-one, well, without one-on-one, with a mastermind program. So it was at a higher level. He had a completely different strategy. And all of a sudden, you have $40,000 of revenue, and now you have cash flow to invest into. This was somebody who was in my group program and is now a new one-on-one client, is now doing one-on-one coaching work with me to build out a whole other business offering, right? So just remember, your $40,000, maybe you think it's meant to be generated through traditionally selling programs to a lot of people who are like you on your Facebook friends list, and maybe the answer is that you just need to be connecting to a few people at a corporate level, and then your ideal client and your avatars live inside of those businesses. So don't assume, don't be blind to the channels needing to be tweaked. Again, very, very hard to see, until you have somebody who's a little bit outside of it and has experience in this, to even be able to identify that in the first place. But that one tweak is the difference between struggling and $40,000. So I just wanted to illuminate that like channels are really important. It's why, like Regina and a lot of you, I wouldn't even want to give you, hey, this is the answer. I hate when it's like, hey, this is the answer, this is what you should do. It's like, yes, in a session we could figure that out, Regina, what would make sense more sense strategically, but it's not going to make sense for all of you. Okay, so you're in the growth phase. Let's say you had 5 private clients, you create space for 10 to 15 people. Your pricing structure approach is going to depend. You've tested through tier 1. This is important. In your tier 1, no matter how many, if it was 1 or 2 years, let's just say you went through 1 year, 4 rounds of clients in tier 1. You've collected a lot of feedback. I did this really well in my business. And you found out what are the actual pain points and desires. What is the program that I need to create in the process I need to create that will move them forward, that is specific to an outcome? Why do you think I'm so specific on helping conscious entrepreneurs amplify impact and income now? Not only is it the thing that my clients really, really wanted and needed, it's actually what I really wanted and needed. I was trying to pull everybody really into like the business coaching, and I was enjoying more working with people who are really, really focused and getting them way more results. And so you have to match it with what is it you're really excellent at in creating for your clients in terms of result, blended with what is it they actually desired as a specific outcome, as a response and a solution to the pain point that you have tested and received through feedback over an extended period of time with your tier 1 offering, right? Sounds more complicated than it is because I shared the entirety of that. Actually really simple. And also something we create. So let's say then, for example, you price your group program at 50 to 60% of your tier 1 offering. And let's say it's $500 a month in this case because you have $1,000 a month. Okay, let's go back a moment. So you had a oh, I think I did this wrong. But you had originally you had $1,000 a month private coaching tier 1 offering, right? $1,000 a month to work with you in one-on-one coaching. I'm gonna try to make this as simple as possible. You price your group coaching program, just to make this simple, at 50%. So you have a $500 a month program, let's say for 4 months, $2,000 in total. You have $500 program, you hold space for 10 to 15 people. Let's just go on the low end and say you start with 10 participants just to test it. See if you want to hold space for even more than 10 people. Maybe that's enough. It's easy math. 10 people, $500 a month, that's $5,000 a month. If you had 15 people, you'd have $7,500 a month. So let's just assume after the beta round, we're at the second round. The beta round, let's say, is 10 participants, and then you're like, I can actually hold space for 15. You have 15 people at $500 a month. That's $7,500 a month. You've increased your private coaching by 30%. Your tier 1, whatever your tier 1 offering, you've increased by 30%. So instead of $1,000 a month, it's $1,300 a month. Now you have one-on-one coaching at $1,300 a month and group coaching at $7,500 a month. So you have $8,800 a month times 12 months equals $105,600. And you just hit 6 figures. Not that complicated, right? Of course, this will be a lot easier for most of you, again, when you let me know if you want to receive the PDF, because this a lot of numbers will be a lot easier if you're like me to see this visually. And depending on where you're at, your bandwidth or capacity, you might be able to and want to integrate a tier 3 offering, for example, a retreat, into this phase concurrently with tier 2, which means you're going to go far beyond $105,000 actually. This was something obviously I did in my group coaching program in my Sacred Light Mastermind. I integrated it, and I had a retreat every 3 months for my participants that they could opt and pay into. So I had tiers within my program. So everybody's going to be guided to create this differently, and everybody should have a different strategy depending, again, on their audience, depending on where their people are at, right? But there might be a way for you to integrate it, so don't be caught also in the trap of you have to wait to do this then and price it in a particular way. That might be true and it might not be. So that we just really walked through, for those of you who are going to catch this on the replay, started late, we walked through $0 to $50,000. Again, this is a 10,000 foot view in some ways of what it looks like. Everybody's going to have a unique strategy. Everybody's going to work through this differently, right? Everybody's going to have a different approach because it's going to make them thrive from a different place, come from a different place of excitement. And I'm going to leave it there since we're already at an hour and 13 minutes. That's what I've got for today in terms of taking you through the framework, taking you through 0 to 50K, the build phase, taking you through 50 to 100K, the grow phase. From there, you're going to want to really look at what does the execution look like for you. People, for all of you in this training, for all of you on the replay, it's like everybody's going to have different blocks that are going to come up at different points in the strategy. Some of these things are going to work, some aren't, for different reasons, because you're going to need things applied at a different time based on where you're at. You know? So, if you're somebody, like I said earlier, I haven't shared this, and I'm still not sharing this actively in this way. So, if you are interested in working through creating a strategy like this, being in a container to execute it and held accountable to it, and work through whatever arises, I will share with all of you first, I am going to be offering spaces for a group coaching container. I've shared this privately with like a small handful of you, only because people have reached out. I'm only going to continue to do the same thing. So if this is something that you feel like you're ready for, you can reach out, you can DM me. I'll share the introductory information for you. This is not like a formalized offer, but it's going to be open only open and available to people here in the collective first, before this is even offered publicly. It might not even be offered publicly. It might only be offered privately in some ways. I'm still feeling into what feels most exciting, how does this want to be delivered. But at the end of the day, a lot of you are in the place where you're ready to look more strategically at what wants to be executed in your business. And like we know, just like my group coaching container is, the first part is strategy, the whole rest of it is going to be accountability and really execution. And all the stuff that comes up from the time that you look at what's going to make sense strategically up until the point that you receive results and success through implementing it. So that in itself is the journey. That's where the fun part is. That's what I got today. If anybody has any questions, for those of you who are on here, I'm open to answering a few questions. At the same time, I would say comment below and put your questions in here, and I'll feel free and I'll create a little bit of space to go through and answer any extra questions. That way people who watch this on the replay have a chance to ask as well. Otherwise, that's it for me today, guys. Thank you for being here. As always, thank you for receiving. Thank you for sharing where you're at. Thank you for doing the work. Thank you for being a yes to your vision. This is one of the biggest things as an entrepreneur. It's like the vision's not going to stop. We are literally the only thing that stops ourselves, is what I'll just leave you with. The vision isn't going to stop. We are the only thing that stops ourselves. So if you have like stories that are coming up in your life around why you can or can't do something, you probably have a story around why you can or can't do that. And so get support to shatter that story by taking action to move through it. Your inaction is not going to change the story that is limiting you. Your inaction is not going to change the story. That is the only thing I can share that is consistently true for every single person who is on this live. Your inaction and your continued consumption is not going to shift and change the story. You taking new action is going to create new results. It's just the way that this works. So you're welcome to all of you who are saying thank you. As always, really happy, and it's my pleasure to be of service. You're very welcome. I will catch you all next week. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. All right, lots of love.